grid, and it's made up through a diversified fuel portfolio. And to just in absentia take one piece of that away, these plants take a while to build. A coal plant, 5 years. A gas plant, we can do it in 24 to 30 months, depending on the site and the situation. Nuclear, 5 to 6 years. So while we're figuring it out and we're not adding baseload, David's spot on with the transient nature. It's free fuel, but wind blows great at night and sun shines during the day, and chances are you have to back it up with bottoming cycles, which is a gas carbon-based fuel. So both sides always have a great 2020 perspective, but the fact is I think we need to figure out how to balance it and do what we do best through technology and then secure it.
Stewart, you've been getting edgy over here.
I want to go after Sierra Club on this, and the other environmental groups are pretty much operating. The economic argument comes from Amory Lovins, who cut his teeth at Sierra Club with Dave Brower back in the day, 60s and 70s and so on. Environmentalists are not famous about worrying about money. We're perfectly glad to have environmental impact reports and other delays and things like that raise the costs of all kinds of things that happen in the world. So I don't believe that Amory, and I don't believe that you, really care about costs. I think it's a means to attack something you don't want to have happen. But what I want to hear is, what are the reasons you don't really want to have it happen?
Okay. Well, I think Amory has done great work.
I agree.
And David Brower was a hero. The work that David and Amory were doing happened before I was born.
I was there. It was weird. It was great. I mean, it was an exciting time. 2 dropouts basically changed the world. It was fantastic.
Yeah. My point is just that the debate has changed pretty significantly in the last 40 years. I've got a little girl. She's 5.5 years old. I've got a little boy who's 18 months old. And they're growing up in a country that is more economically shaky than at any point in my lifetime, probably any point in your lifetime. Cost for me actually is a huge issue. We live in California. There's no art class. There's no music class. Schools are crumbling. And we live in a good school district. Cost is important to me. It's viscerally important to me. It's a good excuse to fight nuclear power because it's a real excuse to fight nuclear power. So it may be true that environmentalists 20, 30, 40 years ago used cost as a false mechanism. It's not true today. I want to take a swing at the intermittency problem because I think it's fair and misleading. We get 2.5% of our power from renewable sources today. Probably close to 3 pretty soon. Of course, there's going to be problems with intermittency at that level. Fair enough. There's a couple important points to consider. One is that nuclear power plants, on average, are down 15% of the time. So nuclear power has an intermittency problem.
That's just so wrong. You cannot waste people's time with that fact. Our plant had a capacity factor of 101% last year. The nuclear industry, are you talking about statistics that are 20 years old?
No, I'm talking about statistics coming from the Department of Energy. And
okay, well, if you want to keep wasting people's time, just keep coming with this stuff, because this is just such inaccurate. Jim, I mean, you've got...
Okay. Well, we broke records for, the American fleet. The American fleet is better than any other fleet in the world, and we are routinely above 93% capacity compared to coal, which
and the 7% is the refueling that we're mandated to do every 18 months.
But every plant, every plant has to go through servicing. Right. Every plant, coal plants,
Department of Energy data.
Plants.
Looked it up last night, so I'll be happy to send you the link.
No, but you have to be complete.
You have to let me talk, okay?
Well, yeah, but we just don't want to waste these people's time with it.
Then please let me talk.
Okay.
Let's let him finish his point.
So let me talk about intermittency. So nuclear power is not on all the time. When you're talking about increasing the amount of renewables, you have, as Jim I think was saying, you've got solar, which of course peaks during the day. Wind, of course, which generally peaks a little bit more at night. When this is combined with geothermal, and you scale up, you can start to, not completely, but you can start to levelize out demand. You can start to meet demand over a longer time cycle when you scale up. When you scale up, that's the important part there. When you combine these sources with hydroelectric, and when you start to combine these sources with natural gas, you can firm up these renewable sources as well. So there is a way to meet demand. There is a way to meet demand with significantly scaled up renewables, with wind that's coming over a much larger geographic area, connected with transmission lines so that you're able to balance out intermittent power sources. But when you have more power coming online from more diverse sources, you're better able to meet the intermittency demand. Final thing that I want to say is that we should have a test for energy investments in this country, comparing all sources: nuclear power, solar, wind, distributed, utility scale. And those tests should be: what is the cleanest, what is the cheapest, what is the safest, and what is the quickest form of power. Nuclear power comes out dead last on all four.
Yeah, but I would dispute that. But let me say, renewable, no question. Efficiency is immediate. Utility scale renewable is coming and important, especially if we can get the transmission lines. If groups like Sierra Club turn into, let's site the transmission lines rather than oppose it, that'll help. So that's critical. But we have 50% coal. We have 20% gas today. If we're meeting carbon goals, that's even before you get to air pollution goals, meeting carbon goals of 80%, it's an all-gas future on the test that you've described. And I don't think that's good for our system, and I don't think in the end it's good for costs. It may be cheap today, but the costs will go crazy later, and we've got the infrastructure. We've created a gas infrastructure to displace the coal infrastructure, which has become efficient over time. And so if we look at the scale of this, if it's 20% nuclear today, it should get to 40 at least, or 50 like Japan. Renewables, no question, need to fill in another 20. If we can get to 30, that would be great. And then you use gas to balance it out. We can get there, and we can get there affordably if we are committed to that. But if you take nuclear out of the equation, I can assure you your choice is not 50% renewables. Your choice is taking natural gas from 20% to 50%. Right. That's the reality of the American system. And so we have to pick. I prefer the cleanest outcome that gets me to an 80%, 85% cut at the lowest collective cost, rather than a 70% or 60% outcome that gets you there at twice the cost.
Right, thank you, James. We have very little time left, and I'd love to get a couple of questions from the audience. Do we have some? Where are the microphones? Right here? Yep.
So despite the fact that there's one nuclear opponent and four nuclear supporters on the stage, if you look back in the last 20 years, Mike is winning. The Sierra Club is winning and fighting and stopping nuclear power plants. And you look at the last 15 months, the Sierra Club stopped every new coal plant that's been proposed. So if the theory is that it will get cheaper partially because it'll happen faster, why would you think that the Sierra Club and groups like it will be less successful at slowing down the spread of nuclear power?
Excellent question. What's the political reality here?
Well, I would say, first of all, what was successful, certainly the nuclear industry didn't cover itself in glory in the way plants were built or operated in the 70s and 80s. So for a good part of the period since then, it was just improving their game, which they've done by any rational look at the statistics. The nuclear industry today is dramatically different, as all industries are, from where they were 30 years ago. But I would say the people that succeeded in getting nuclear plants not built for 20 years were natural gas. And this is the theme I had in the last panel, is that natural gas is the cheapest fossil fuel out there right now.